Welcome to Can I Park Here? Brought to you by FindAFashionTruck.com. Nashay and Estrell's mission is to inspire future and existing small business owners. They don't claim to be experts. They're simply trying to figure this all out, just like you.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Can I Park Here podcast, brought to you by FindAFashionTruck.com. My name is Nashay Snow, and I'm here with
Estrell Riles.
Today we'll be talking to Tara McKiernan, co-owner of End of the A. Her other partner in crime is Beth, who wasn't able to join us. But Beth, thanks again for lending us Tara to talk about your wonderful business. In this episode, Tara goes through kind of her background in merchandising before starting the fashion truck, and then like her and Beth's journey of just figuring out like what to do next, from like, figuring out the logo to taking a business class. So she gives some really good kind of like tips, and it's just like a overall interesting story.
Yeah, and we find out a lot about how they came to get the pink, beautiful truck, and as well as how they take the awesome photos that are on their website. So you get to hear some pretty good tips and find out about their lovely business in Rockaway Beach, New York.
But before we go to the episode, we just want to play this awesome message left by Chris. And I'm not going to say your last name because I don't want to murder it. But we'll just take a second to play the message.
Hi, Nashay and Estrell. My name's Chris Suarez, and I'm based in Richmond, Virginia. First and foremost, I want to say how much of an inspiration both of you have been, as well as the guests that have been in your podcast, because I would say in the last 2 weeks, I've listened to about 21 out of 32 of your podcasts. That's including today. As you can tell, I do a lot of traveling for my current job, and I'm in the car for the most of the time. And, there's nothing else to do. So I thought, why not learn and listen to you and see what, I can gain. So I will tell you, I've learned a lot of invaluable things that has helped me, and has also helped my wife. And because of listening to your podcast, we've decided to start our own online website and fashion truck that will hopefully open early next year. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Wow. Thanks, Chris. That was really, really sweet. We're so glad that, you found these episodes like to be helpful, and that has inspired you and your wife to like open up like a online store and a fashion truck. So that's just amazing.
Yes.
We're pretty stoked.
And that's what we're here for. Come on, people. Everybody needs to start their own business like right now.
Yes. So thanks again, Chris. We really appreciate it. And for all of you guys out there, remember, if you want to leave a message too, just head on over to startafashiontruck.com and go to the podcast page. But without further ado, let's listen to Tara and her awesome story.
Here we go.
Hello, Tara. Thanks for joining us on the Can I Park Here podcast. We're really excited to have you on.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we dive into like your really cool truck that you and Beth own, can you tell us just like a little bit about you and then how you got here?
Okay, yeah. So my background is, I worked in a bunch of different areas, but my background mainly was in retail, and previous to owning the truck, I worked in product development and product design. So I was working for a wholesale company and sort of helping them with designing and accessories and things like that. So because I went to school for fashion merchandising, I got my bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising. And so it was sort of something, I always wanted to do something creative, and but working in product development, I was, sitting at a computer and, looking through photos of samples and emailing overseas. And, I had no view of the outside world. And that wasn't really my idea of how using like my creativity, I guess you could say, in the best way. So while I was working there, I was trying to think of something else that I could do and use the skills that I had sort of developed into something that I would want to do for, the rest of my life. So, yeah, so that's how it started.
So did you already know Beth, or so how did you guys connect and then decide to like open the truck?
Yeah. Beth and we've been friends since high school, actually. We grew up in the same neighborhood, Rockaway Beach, Queens, New York. And, we both went different ways for college. Like, she went to school for communications and I went to school for fashion merchandising. And so we just both sort of went in different directions. But, we would constantly talk about one day, we would just sort of, it was always like this, one day, we'll do this, we're going to do this. And really what happened, I think it was sort of, I don't know if this was the turn of events, but I think it was after Hurricane Sandy, because unfortunately our neighborhood was really badly affected by Hurricane Sandy. I think after that, we both were sort of like, you know what? So sort of like, let's seize the day, it's like, it's now or never, you wake up every day, you do the same job, and it's like, let's just do something, that we're both passionate about and that we both really want to do. So yeah, so basically we sort of reconnected, I guess, after college, and that's sort of how it started. We were both at this fork in the road, I guess, in our careers. And we both wanted something else. We both wanted to sort of start our own business. And honestly, it was really more of a dream even while we were, writing up the business plan. I think the turning point was when we bought the truck. That was when we were like, okay, this is really happening. Yeah, this is,
right.
We are actually going to do this.
This is real.
So it's real. It's real. It's happening. And her and I always joke around about that, that for us, like, that's when we like really looked at each other and were like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It's happening. There's no going back now. We both have to figure out what we're going to do with this box truck. So, yeah. So, but that's sort of how we both came together. It was like, we would kind of constantly go back and forth with each other. Like, wouldn't this be a nice idea? And I sort of, sitting at my cubicle, I sort of came up with, I actually Googled mobile boutique because I thought I had actually created this. Like, in my head, I was like, I swear to you, I thought, I was like, wouldn't this be such an amazing, and I even asked some coworkers and everyone was just kind of like looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, yeah, okay, Tara. And I was like, no, this would be a really great idea. And so I Googled it, and that's when I actually saw pictures of, like the fashion truck. And then I was just in California, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually a thing. This is a thing. And it made me so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this can be done, if other, entrepreneurs are doing this, that means it's possible. So yeah, that's when I sort of really started honing down on, okay, what are we going to call it? Like, what are we going to sell? What are we going to, where are we going from here? Because I just went full force after that. I was like, it's going to happen. So no one can stop me now.
Were you guys both working full-time jobs?
I was working full-time, but I believe Beth was working part-time. Yeah, she was just because she was sort of in between jobs at the time. So it sort of worked out perfectly. I kind of told her, I was like, look, I'm ready to kind of make this a commitment. So I'm going to leave my job, but we sort of have to really actually do this if I'm going to, make that huge, jump. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of what, because I think that's like a fear that most people have, right?
Yeah.
You're leaving this stable job, you still have bills and everything,
Right.
and you're kind of jumping into this kind of unknown territory. So was there anything in particular that just made you, I mean, I know you said, like, of course, like Hurricane Sandy, like seizing the moment, but was there anything else where you're just like, you know what, this is the time, like I've saved money, or I just know this can work, or like what kind of gave you like the guts to be like, okay, this is it. Everything is going to ride on this truck. I know we can do it.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was just sort of like this, it was like this confidence that I had, and it's something that I tell to, a lot of people starting a business. It's sort of like, if you don't believe in your idea or your, dream, who else is going to? It's like you kind of have to, if you're really strongly passionate about like making something happen, then you kind of have to just make it happen. There's ways of, I know it's scary. It's like you're leaving, it's like, okay, you have health insurance and, like your steady, direct deposit's not going to be there anymore. But it's sort of like, as long as you're as long as you have enough to sort of like live every day, and then sort of also where the capital is going to come from, and where it's going to go. If you've done your research well enough, then you should feel, I mean, regardless, it's going to be scary. Don't get me wrong. I was definitely really, I was afraid. I was like, okay, am I making the right decision? Am I making a huge mistake? But I sort of said, you know what? I'll never know unless I just do it, and I don't, there wasn't any other sort of defining moment except for the fact that I knew I couldn't really go on with the way things were. It was sort of like, I knew I would regret in the future if I didn't make this, kind of leap of faith. So, yeah. That was
what was the process for you guys finding your truck and building it out until you were ready to actually hit the road?
Okay, so I sort of, how they say like everything happens for a reason. It's so true. Like, so as soon as we started, we were planning for actually about a year. We even entered a small business competition because we thought that our idea was pretty innovative, and it really wasn't, especially in New York, the only other truck that we knew of at the time was the Nomad truck. So we sort of were like, okay, this is still like a new sort of developing type of business. So we, who knows, so we filled out an application. We went to different, business classes, and, for about a year, we sort of planned everything out. Then I think we were driving to the truck dealership, and there's a local business. It's called Clearwater Pools, and they install in-ground pools. They had a truck. It was just sitting right like in front of their garage, and it was like, truck for sale. And we were like, write the number down. So we wrote it down. We called as soon as we got home, because the truck dealership that we had went to, we saw a bunch of trucks, and they were all pretty expensive. They were ranging between 11 to 15,000, and we kind of knew that that's what we were looking at, but we were hoping we might be able to find something that's like a little bit less. But yeah, so we called up, Clearwater Pools, and we just were like, hey, we saw your truck is for sale. Like, can we talk to someone about it? Now, this was actually in January, so it was pretty cold here in New York, and, but the people there were so nice, and they worked a deal out for us. So we actually got the truck in February, and we got it for literally a steal. Like we only paid $2,200 for our truck. So yeah, and it's a diesel. It was in as good a condition as a truck for $2,200 could be in. I mean, it was working, it was like everything worked. We put some work into it, as far as like, fixing the brakes a little bit and, other mechanical issues that it had, but it's been great. Like it's been really, I recommend those going into the business to consider, a diesel truck because they really are workhorses. Yeah. So, and then the build out we did in a weekend. We did.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, we did one weekend and we did everything ourselves. So the only thing we didn't do ourselves was the installation of the air conditioner unit and the vinyl logo that we had wrapped on the side. But we even painted the truck ourselves. It was sort of, we knew what our budget was, and we had a lot of friends and family who were eager to help. They had power tools. And I sort of, and especially after Sandy, like people were just used to like rebuilding. So it was like, all right, sure, build out a truck. Okay, fine. It's like, so I sort of just directed and kind of designed the whole thing. And as we went, it just all came together. It was amazing how great everyone was. I mean, we couldn't have done it without the help of our friends and family, but yeah.
Now, I love the logo. So what was kind of the process for creating that? Did you go to like a designer, and how long did it take you guys before you settled on like the perfect logo?
And even the name.
Yeah, end of the A. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so my best friend is actually a graphic designer, and I worked with her previously at the company that I was at, so I kind of described the look I was going for. So the name End of the A, it comes from Rockaway being, the last stop on the A train here in New York. So that's sort of, and also it's sort of not an inside joke, but it's a little bit of a joke because, in Manhattan, there's just like, you can hop on any train and you can get anywhere you need to go. And the transportation is really convenient, but Rockaway is sort of like the forgotten about town in a way. So everyone's like, oh, it's like, how do you get there? It's so far away. It's like, it's still Queens, I mean, if you're familiar with New York City, it's like, one of the boroughs, but it's just, yeah, I mean, we're sort of, the forgotten beach town in a way. We're like the neglected little beach town. But anyway, yeah, and I just liked the play on words, it being end of the A. So my friend who's the graphic designer, I just sort of asked her, could you make it, incorporate the A into the logo? And, she just like, it took her like 2 minutes. Beth and I and, my friend, we sat down with like a glass of wine. It took her 2 minutes. She just like whipped it right up, and it was like, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's the logo. And so that part was so easy. She's so talented. So, and I knew I wanted a logo that was, circular, and then also one that was, horizontal. So this way it would fill up more of the truck. But I have like a crush on our circle logo. I just really love it. And right now I'm kind of struggling on like the store logo because our logo incorporates the mobile boutique. So I just realized, I'm like, oh wow, I think we might need to update it a little bit for the store.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the store, because everybody's always curious, they're like, oh, should we go brick and mortar first and then fashion truck, or do fashion truck, then brick and mortar, or online, then fashion truck, then brick and mortar. So in this case, you started with the fashion truck. So, at what point did you guys decide to open up a brick and mortar?
It was after last winter. So we, it was wintertime. I mean, after the holidays, it's rough for all retail, but, especially for us, like being on the truck, people really weren't interested in shopping on a truck, especially when it's freezing cold out or, even snowing. And, there were a few times where, the truck was being a little bit fussy. And so we had opened up a pop-up shop in Brooklyn for the months of December and January, which was fun. And it was nice to sort of meet new people and new business owners and kind of spread the word out about Rockaway and our truck. And so, after that, I just sort of said, you know what, our identity is in Rockaway. So, and in order to expand and, be able to sort of sell more outside of the truck, it only made sense, to sort of open up the brick and mortar. And so I sort of tested. What I did with the truck was I actually parked the truck in different locations, commercial blocks in Rockaway, and sort of tested out which areas we did the best in. So that's another advantage that you have with the truck. I mean, for us, you can kind of go anywhere and just sort of like test out a spot and see, how well people respond to shopping there. So the area that I found, or the shop that we found, I had parked on that block quite a lot during the springtime. So in the beginning of the summer, when I saw that there was a location available, I just sort of said, you know what? Again, it was another one of those moments where it's like, all right, I'm going to throw all caution to the wind and just see what happens. Because I know, I mean, the difference obviously between, a brick and mortar and starting the truck was just, I knew it was just going to be a lot more work and a lot more, money needed to start it. But it's sort of like, you know what, things worked out really well with the truck and things are going really well. And we've already built, a pretty good, clientele. So, people were emailing us and kind of, messaging us and asking all the time, where's the truck going to be? Where's the truck going to be? Or how can we shop from you? So we did start a little online website, to buy a few things, but, and we also work with, shopteeks.com. The online, I find that online is tricky because there's so many websites that sell clothing, and there's just like, how consumers have so much to choose from, and, trying to sort of make yourself stand out in the internet, it's tricky. So it's sort of like you already have to have that sort of loyal fan base in order to have people continuously buy from you. So for us, it was just sort of like, let's have that flagship store and we'll keep the truck, and it'll be sort of like a big sister, to the truck, so and that's really what it's turned into. It's sort of, it's just, you can find more things. We sell, kids clothing now and men's clothing. So, we've added on to our inventory. So, I mean, it's just, the difference between all three is, I think, you just have to work at all of them. You know what I mean? It's not easy you can't just say it's better to do one thing over the other. I think you just have to do what you're passionate about and start from there. Once you feel comfortable of expanding, then go for it.
With the truck and the store, are you guys going to split that up? Like one person works the store, one person in the truck, or are you only going to take the truck out for certain events?
Yeah, the busiest months here are really between Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, like the heart of the summer. So I think what we're going to do, besides doing special events, I think we're going to pretty much just have the truck out during the summer months. Because there's, tons of people from, Manhattan and Brooklyn. They come to Rockaway for the beaches. And so there's just so many people visiting. And we do really well in the summertime with the truck. So I think for going forward, the focus is just going to be, having the truck be sort of like this summertime little, boat, sort of a wandering, truck in Rockaway. And we're going to split the time up. So, I'll be, we'll make a schedule where I'll be in the store and then, Beth will be in the truck and vice versa. And then we also, we have a little bit of extra help. Sometimes we have, like part-time or interns who, will help us. And hopefully by next summer, we'll have a few, part-time staff that can help, just work, because the difference between, the storefront and the truck is way more physically draining, just because, you're dealing with a generator that's really heavy. And then, it's just a lot goes into it, the setting up and the breaking down. And, it's just, there's things you don't really think about. Like, when people see the finished product, they're like, oh, this is so cute. I could totally do this. And it's like, no, you can, but just don't forget, your hands are going to get really dirty. Like you're gonna be exhausted at the end of the day. And all you're going to want to do is like park the truck somewhere and take a shower and just be done with it. but it's just one of those things where you just like, at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But no, it's totally worth it. You meet so many people, and there's so many positive people out there who just want to talk to you, and that's great. But sorry, I go off onto these other little tangents sometimes, so that's always been a problem of mine. I just will go off.
No, it's good stuff.
Okay.
And you know what I wanted to ask you too, because some people struggle with this, but you guys have amazing photos.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God, you're so sweet.
Like even looking at, your website, like all the photos are like very bright, engaging, kind of in focus. It's clear like you guys have like an eye for kind of like framing the right shot. So any tips with that? Like, did you all take photography classes, or has it just been practice, or do you pay a photographer to take some of your photos?
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you. Oh my God. That's so nice. No, yeah. I take all the photos, and they are just sort of, I take a lot of each, so because I know, like I'll kind of see, like, okay, for example, so Beth is our model for most of our shots. And then, so what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, stand over here, or like go over here. And the truck is always like a great backdrop, it's like such a bright color. But yeah, I don't know. I really like sort of zooming in on little details, or kind of, it's kind of like putting an outfit together in a way. It's sort of like, you have all these different pieces and you want to see them clearly and you want to see them together. So it's like, okay, do these colors work well together? How is this going to look? If I square the frame, or if I enhance the colors, or if I make it black and white, or, so it's sort of, that's the process, I guess, that I take. And then as far as for our Instagram account, I just use my phone, and something that comes in handy is, I'll sort of, when I have a minute to myself, like let's say before the stores open, or right before I close, I'll take a bunch of photos of maybe like new products, or, just, whatever, I think would be sort of a cute photo. And then, I'll save it and sort of edit it later on. So then this way, it's one less thing that you have to sort of worry about, once you're going to these events. 'Cause that was one thing, and I'm still trying to get better at it. It's sort of like, just posting where you're at, and giving people enough time to sort of say, oh, okay, they're going to be here. Let's plan a day to go, to be, close by, or, to even just go visit them. Yeah, it's really important, especially when you're a mobile business. But no, thank you so much. I mean, I really I love photography. My boyfriend bought me a Nikon camera for Christmas, and that's been my favorite little thing so far. I mean, I'd really like to take a photography class if I have like some time off. That would definitely be something I would love to do. I think it's just you can sort of get lost, with a camera.
Yeah, because it's all about lighting. And yeah, when you get to those SLRs, it's all about like the settings, and those can get tricky too. But yeah, but even people don't realize like you could take amazing photos just with your phone. You just need to make sure the framing is right and there's good light,
Yeah.
And it's interesting whatever you're taking a picture of. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I try to think of. I'm like, would I want to look at this photo? It's like, is this something that when I'm, scrolling through Instagram, like would I stop and actually maybe read, the caption or actually, like the photo? So that's something I think of too. And not only that, and then also just like, I look at the bigger picture too. I try not to repeat anything too often. So it's like if I'm taking a picture of, let's just say, jewelry, I try not to be sort of, like the next day, I won't, post a picture of jewelry, because it's like, I don't want people to get bored. I want people to see the range of things that we have. And I want people to see, more than just what they're I want it to be fresh every time that they scroll past one of our photos.
Now, speaking of that, like, do you have any tips for people for Instagram? Because I see you have like over kind of 2,300 followers. So how are you able to build your followers?
You know what? It's all really been pretty organically grown. I mean, I try to use as many hashtags that I feel are relevant as possible. It's just been sort of like a learning process too. I personally started an account like when Instagram sort of first started. So I always really loved it. Yeah, it's like that's like the one, that's the one thing I know it uses the most battery on my phone. So just on it all the time. So yeah, no, but it's one of those things where I was really, passionate about sort of, making it something that someone would want. Something like that someone would want to follow, it's like follow this journey, see where we go, or just see like what we have in store. So it's really just totally been, I think a lot of our followers are other small businesses and designers and people we've met along the way. Another big thing is keeping your handles. We have the handle on our truck, and of course on our business cards. So, when we give them to people, also when we're on the truck, I'll kind of say, check us out on Instagram. You can follow where we go. And that's just a big thing. Or if someone buys something, I'll say, maybe take a photo and tag us. It's just like a nice way to kind of keep in contact with, your customers. But yeah, I mean, I would love to continue growing on Instagram. I think it's a great tool to, to meet people and just to kind of grow your business. Really, it's like, especially in the beginning, people were contacting us sort of before we even started, sort of under the assumption that we were this, business that was already, sort of like started, and it was like, no, we haven't even started yet, So that was really interesting to kind of, meet people out of the woodwork. It was just, yeah. So I mean, anyway, but that's been, yeah, it's been interesting.
Where do you source all of your product from?
We do. It's a little bit of everything. So we go to trade shows. We use Etsy wholesale, especially in the beginning when we first started the truck. A lot of small independent designers, reached out to us and asked if, we would look over their line sheets. And of course, we always, would look it over. And if it was something we felt like would work or would fit on the truck, we always placed, we would place small orders so it's been sort of like a it's a blend of everything. We use a lot of local designers, a lot of just like a lot of small local designers. I think it's really important to, for everyone to sort of support each other. It's a great way also of gaining new followers and customers, because it's sort of like, oh, okay, this person sells these items that, I follow that person on Instagram. I've wanted to see their products in person, or I've been wanting to find out where I could buy it. So it's like if everyone's sort of supporting each other, it just helps. So yeah, so it's just like a little bit of everything from everywhere.
So for the truck, so you guys have had the truck for 2 years, is it?
Yeah, 2 years. Okay. Yeah.
So what point of sale system do you use now, and did it change over time? Like, did you start with one and then eventually like change over?
No, actually we've used Square from the beginning, and we still use Square in our brick-and-mortar. It's just really, it's been changing over the years. It's gotten better. It's so easy to use. It makes things so much simpler as far as, kind of keeping track of sales, your best sellers, your inventory. It just really does everything for you. And it's great that you can use, your iPhone or your iPad for the system. Like we purchased the, the Square stand for the truck.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, and almost every person who has never seen it before, they always, they're always like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, it's so cool. How does it, because it like spins around, and like, they can sign their name, and we give them like a little pen to use. And so everyone is just sort of like, oh my gosh, this thing is so cool. Like, where are the wires? Like, where are all the,
Isn't that funny? Because I'm like, because I'll hear people like at certain shows, like still be surprised by it. Yeah. And I'm like, but this has been around for a while now. Where have you all been?
I know. And what's even funny? Like, some people, like, their email address will be will already be stored. And they're like, how do you have my email address? And I'm like, well, you've used Square before. And they don't really know what that means. So I'm just like, you've bought something at another retailer, and they use the same system, and they're like, oh, okay. But like, sometimes it's just like, it's like, wait, you've never seen this? Really? Like, but you know what? It's just better for us, because it's like something else, to kind of talk about, or just like, kind of, I mean, it makes for like a nice conversation. And it's also kind of like, they feel like it's sort of this high tech piece of machinery, but really it's just like our iPad attached to it. It's just funny, So yeah, I mean, but I love Square, and they haven't in a while, but when we first started using their system, they called us, and they were just like, "Oh, we just wanted to see if there was anything that we could do to improve." And I was like, "Oh, wow,
right, that's cool.
Yeah, well, and of course, I couldn't think of anything. I was like, "No, you guys are great," But like now, since knowing that they sort of are looking for, business owners' advice, I think there's a few things I've actually written down that I would like to sort of just ask questions about and see if they're working on, because it's something, I mean, if they've been growing, so now it's like for us, it's like, it just makes sense. So
do you have any advice for future small business owners? Like, what are the lessons that you've learned throughout your journey?
So it's a hard question, because basically the one thing I could say is be prepared to have, it sort of take over your life in a way. Because if you're really passionate about it and you want it to succeed, it sometimes has this tendency of sort of just creeping up on you, even when you're just like, no, just going to have some me time right now. It's like, oh, but I forgot to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, so there's no passing it on to someone else or putting it off to the next day. It's like, you really sort of have to be pretty self-driven. But besides that, another thing, I mean, I wish I sort of took my own advice on this, but confidence is just something you really have to just be so confident in yourself, especially when it comes to something like a mobile boutique, because, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who might not understand what you're doing, or maybe what, I mean, now it's more sort of familiar to people, but I think in the beginning, it's just sort of like, you really have to stand by, you know, your plan, your product, and just your whole, you know, your whole business in a whole, because it's like, if you don't, nobody else really is going to. And there's going to be times it's going to be challenging because people might not appreciate you parking near them, or, you know, and that's another big thing. We try to do is always get, you know, just make friends, or just introduce yourself to businesses if you're planning on parking near them, because the truth is they were there first, and they spend a lot of money every month on rent and things like that. They have a lot more overhead. And so, so it's just important to sort of, be kind of open and friendly with them, because 9 out of 10 times they're going to be like, we think it's cool what you're doing. You know what I mean? We've been really, really lucky. We haven't come across anyone who, we've been asked to move in the past, but, you know, we haven't really come across any negative business owners. It's just all been really positive. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially because the thing is, you know, we've done events in Manhattan, but only events, you know, like we never really wanted to sort of enter into the beast of New York City. It's so, you know, especially after working there I worked there for about 10 years. It's like, it's so packed and it's very congested, and, you know, people can be harsh there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of places for people to shop, and, you know, it's just the city is just like on another level. So for us, we always just sort of wanted to keep it local and keep it, stay in Queens and sort of, you know, stay within Rockaway as much as we could, because we also knew that the people who lived here, they didn't have, you know, there weren't places to shop. So, you know, for us, like, we kind of took that, you know, as an advantage to us. Like, there really weren't any clothing stores or places that you can get a gift or places that you can get accessories. So, yeah.
No, that's neat.
Yeah, it worked out in our favor, really. So, and it continues to. So, but I think your question was advice for business owners. I mean, that's really all I can say is, just be confident in your ideas.
Well, we just want to ask you a couple of personal questions to help people get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite blog, book, or TV show? And if so, what is it?
There's a blog. It's called The Glorified Tomato, and
that's cute.
She is like, she posts, the woman who started, her name's Paula. She lives in Rockaway, and she actually donated to us her and her husband bought this bungalow in Rockaway. Actually, I shouldn't call it a bungalow, but it's a fixer-upper. And so anyway, they gave us a piece of an old tin roof, and we put that on the walls in the truck. So anyway, so her blog is The Glorified Tomato, and she posts really amazing cooking recipes, and just, you know, she just like posts different things about Rockaway, and it's a good blog. I do check it. I always say, if I have a spare minute, I'll start cooking, but that has not happened yet. So I think it's probably best because I'm really not a good cook. So yeah.
And if you could have any celebrity, entertainer, model, athlete visit your mobile boutique, who would it be?
This is going to sound really strange, but like the first person that like popped into my head was James Franco for some reason.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for that was because last summer he did this reading in Rockaway. It was with who was it? Patti Smith. And it was just, and he just like did this reading in Fort Tilden. And I was there and I remember I had like this a t-shirt of ours. We had like t-shirts with our logo. And I was trying to get a t-shirt to him because I thought, oh, like if I can get a t-shirt to him and he posts himself wearing it, anyway,
okay.
I couldn't even get like 3 feet from him. So,
well,
come back, James Franco.
Right. And stop by the end of the A, either the store or the mobile boutique, and take a picture, post it on your Instagram account because I'm sure he has a ridiculous amount of followers.
He does. Yeah. I know that's probably the lamest answer you've ever received, but I mean, it's true. That's the only thing I can think of. I was like, oh God, famous people. Who would I want? Yeah, I'll probably think of like a really good answer in like an hour from now. But
look, just think about it. If he came into your store, your truck, he would entertain people. He's so goofy.
Yes.
So he's a good one.
No, he is good. No, he's extremely funny. I love him and Seth Rogen. They're like my favorite duo.
They're two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do in your free time to just wind down and de-stress?
Just to wind down. I mean, usually just maybe like I'll call a friend or wine helps too. And Netflix, I have to say, like I will, if I have a day, like I can't start watching Netflix because I have no self-control. I'll just watch an entire season of something, because they just like, they give you that option of just playing the next episode. So, and I'm always like, sure. Yeah. Okay. Why not? So yeah, I would have to say like a little, like, some Netflix or maybe HBO, and some wine and just chilling, just chill.
And then a quick side question. Do you ever get to really like, how do you take vacations? Because since you haven't built up a staff yet, so do you find like there's really no opportunity to take vacations yet? Or do you just kind of like close down for a period of time just so you can get away?
Well, yeah, actually Beth and I did that last summer. We both went away for a weekend. We went to Long Beach Island. My brother had rented a house. So we were just like, let's just go for the weekend. We're giving ourselves like some time off. I mean, and that's it's the good and bad thing about owning your own business. You're making your own schedule, but all the time you take off, it's sort of like, the other good thing is it's Beth and I. So we sort of, I had a bachelorette trip I had to go on. So she sort of, took over and vice versa. So you sort of have to, you make arrangements like way in advance though. That's the other thing. Like people are, if you want to do something, you just sort of have to kind of make sure the other person is okay with it because, it's a big thing, especially to be working like by yourself, So it's hard. It's not easy. Yeah. To like, besides going away for like a weekend and then I went to New Orleans for that bachelorette trip last August. Besides that, I haven't taken a vacation, but I'm talking about it and it's,
that
it's
dedication.
It's going to be good. I don't know where we're going, but I'm due one maybe this coming winter. I'm going to say like, I'm just going to give myself a week off,
Good for you.
Yeah, you gotta. Otherwise, you'll go crazy and you'll start resenting, what you've done.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, you have to take those breaks. Like, it's key.
Yeah.
And then Android or iPhone, and what's your favorite app?
iPhone and probably Instagram. And then besides Instagram, I use Visco Cam a lot. That's a big one I use a lot. And
I
think
love
that,
Visco.
yeah. Yeah. I use that. I mean, I really like that. I'm just trying to think if there's like another app that I use that like is just not getting. I like the Etsy app too. That's like a really good one. Because and Pinterest. Okay, I'm just going off on it. No, but like the greatest thing about like Etsy since they've like started the whole the Etsy wholesale is it's like there were so many things I would see on Etsy and I'd be like, oh, I'd love to carry that in the store, but now you can actually like reach out to the people and sort of so conveniently place these orders. So I really like using that app too.
The final question is, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
If I couldn't, well, I'm sure everyone probably says play the lottery, right? But no, but if there was something, if money was not a necessity, I would say maybe I would be a singer. I would be a singer because I really love singing, and I don't think I would have the confidence like to really. I mean, well, no, it's like not the confidence, but it's just like. How does one become, like a famous singer? I don't know. But if that was something that I couldn't fail in doing, I think I would do that.
I think there's a hidden talent in mobile boutique owners because in last week's episode, actually the person was like, they'd want to be a singer too.
No way.
Yes.
So crazy.
Yeah.
We're all just potential American Idol finalists. And that's what we all have in common. Wouldn't that be funny if if we all like went on The Voice or something and we're like mobile boutiques unite and created sort of like a band or something. That would be pretty cool.
But no, that'd be awesome. You get to tour. It would just be pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that's what I imagine. Just like you're on a tour bus. Like, I don't know how, I love traveling. I love being able to go all over. And I just think that would be just so fun, I mean, and like performing for people, like having people cheer for you every night, that can't get boring. It can't. I don't think so. I don't. A little tiring, but not boring.
Right. Then where can the listeners find you? Please let them know your website and any social media handles, and if you have any events or the store location, anything you'd like them to know about your business, you and Beth's business.
Thank you. Okay, great. Yeah. Our website is www.endofthea.com, and all of our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is at End of the A. And our store address is 437 Beach 129th Street, and that's in Rockaway Park, New York. And please visit or follow.
Yeah, definitely. People out there, check out like their social media, their websites, because I think especially for even existing boutique owners who are still trying to kind of like figure out like their brand and photos. Like I think you guys have like a solid brand and a very good design aesthetic. Like everything flows together. It just looks really beautiful. So it's a good example of good branding. So
thank you. That's really, thank you so much.
Well, thanks again for coming on. We really, really appreciate you sharing your story.
Sure. Thank you so much for listening to me and having me on this. This is great.
Absolutely.
All right.
That was a fun episode. She had like a lot of good nuggets in there.
Yeah. It's just interesting to find out everybody's story. And at the end of the day, I think that venturing out to start your own business is rewarding. And I mean, everybody should do it. Like it's hard. Oh, it's so hard. And you lose a lot of your life, basically.
Well, I don't know about everybody. Because everybody doesn't have that hunger. You got to have that hunger inside of you.
I'm just saying, like, if you actually do take that journey, it is going to be difficult. Like, you're going to like realize that like days have gone by. You have no free time for yourself. Like, take for instance today, like both of us have full-time jobs. And as soon as we got home, we, had 2 interviews back to back. So like neither one of us has even like probably taken time to like just take our shoes off and relax or whatever, and it's like almost 10 o'clock in the evening. I'm missing Empire. I mean, this is crazy.
Here we go.
I'm like, I don't even think I'm eating
problem
yet.
Right here, people.
This is hard work, people, but just know that in the end, it'll pay off.
It's always worth it. Yeah. If you really want it, right? If you don't enjoy it, if you don't have fun, if you don't believe in what you're doing, then it's hard to stay motivated. But if you do, a couple of late nights or several late nights, couple vacations a year, yeah, you know what? You don't mind, But definitely, like we were talking about at the end of the episode, do find time to give yourself a little bit of a break, because even if you're passionate about something, even if you love something, if you don't give yourself that break, you will burn out, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And just know that like Beth and Tara, they actually grew their business to the point where they were able to open up their brick and mortar. And that's like the dream, right? So anybody can do this. Well, not anybody, but if that's your goal, just go for it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to start off with the mobile boutique. You can start off with the brick and mortar and then transition to the truck. It's just however you want to do it.
Yeah. And, one thing that I'll mention a couple of things. One thing, I meant to talk to her once we started recording, but pre-recording, she had mentioned like she was glad that kind of like our Facebook group and kind of our website was around, because when they first started, they were in libraries looking for books. Like it was like harder to find that information. So what's pretty cool now is like that information for starting a truck is readily available. So definitely check out our Facebook group. Let's talk about fashion trucks to get more information, because everybody is really good about sharing information. And also another thing, she said like, they kind of prepared, like took a year to prepare. And I want to say she even said she took like, her and Beth took like a business class too. So there is prep work that goes into it, So just think about like how much prep work you need. Don't take forever, right? Because then maybe you'll never do it. But make sure you get to a point where you're comfortable. And so when you do make that leap, there's no regrets.
And then remember our last interview, which was last week, she also mentioned that she had a business coach. So that's a good idea too.
Mm-hmm. But we hope you enjoyed this episode. We sure did. And definitely check out their boutique because it is hot. I love it. I'm kind of partial to pink anyway. The logo is amazing. And, I'm a designer, so I'm a nerd when it comes to typography and layout. And I think the inside is pretty cool too. And, a lot of people ask us about photos, and truly take a look at their Instagram account. And she said most of those photos are like from her iPhone, but it just goes to show you, like, take stuff in good light and make sure that you frame things just right, and don't use any weird filters, and you'll have a beautiful feed. So yeah, check us out on social media. We are at just type in Find a Fashion Truck. Bang. Find a Fashion Truck on Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram, FFT_official_. And Pinterest, just Google Find a Fashion Truck, and same with YouTube.
You guys know this was coming, but I need you to go to iTunes. Now I'm saying this really, really slow so that, you don't miss it. But I need you guys to go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating And while you're there, leave like the most glorious review possible.
Well, here's the thing, people. This is so important because one, we've talked about this on another episode. We need to get to like a certain amount of followers so we can get sponsors, and that helps us pay our bills, right? And then we can continue doing this, continue to interview like awesome folks. So
right, like I need to pay my light bill so that I can plug in my microphone so that we can continue to do this podcast. You know, I guess the internet bill.
Okay, she's going on a tangent, and the begging is kind of sad.
I'm not begging,
but definitely,
like, this is like real, like the real deal.
Like, so definitely share the episode, rate it. We appreciate everything. We're just trying to like hopefully inspire a lot of others, just like Chris, who we played at the beginning of this episode. So, yeah.
So, I guess that's it, folks. Thanks for parking here.